Shalom Aleichem, everybody. I'm honored to be able to be a part of this channel. Luckily, Rabbi Shmuel Birnbaum is my older brother, so I have the zchus, I have the merit and the ability to piggyback off of his great work that he's already done with the channel and to share a little something. So first, before we begin, I want to say that it's so important and it's such a special mitzvah to be able to support Torah learning and the spreading of Torah. The Rambam, Maimonides, who's one of the greatest Jewish thinkers, philosophers, and rabbis of history, says that we should look at ourselves and we should look at the world at large as an even, balanced scale, and between good and evil, and one good deed can tip that scale. So each individual has the capacity to actually shift the whole world, to bring the coming of Mashiach through Torah, mitzvahs, good deeds. And the greatest thing you could do is support the spreading of Torah. And there's many great ways, but one of the great ways would be to support a channel like the Torah channel with as much or as little as you have to give. Either financially, tzedakah is a huge mitzvah, but even just watching and learning through limud Torah, through the learning of Torah itself, you're doing a tremendous service to Hashem and to the Jewish people and to the whole world at large. So thank you very much, and I highly encourage it. But what I want to talk about today is a concept, just some thoughts about something that's very prevalent in the world today, very, very specifically to these times. It's always existed, sadly, but it's really ramping up now, and that is the concept of a certain, it's a misunderstood concept, and that's the idea that there's some form of a Jewish supremacy. That the Jewish people think they're better than the rest of the world, and that the Jewish people think they're above either law or order of the world. Today, in the past, it was kind of, at least in modern history, since after World War II, there's always been those anti-Semitic tropes, but it wasn't mainstreamed. Sadly, today, especially in America, it's becoming mainstream to openly attack the Jewish faith, to attack the Jewish people, and it may be hidden in the disguise of anti-Zionism. But at the end of the day, when you're screaming at a Jewish person on the street simply for wearing a yarmulke, simply for covering his head or something like that, you don't know his thoughts, you don't know his political beliefs. So at the end of the day, everyone deep down knows that it's an attack against the Jewish people. But more specifically than that, we're in the time of Sfiras HaOmer. We are in the time period between the holiday of Passover, when we were redeemed and saved from the hands of the ancient Egyptians. We were enslaved to them, the Jewish people. And we went through a 49-day process to receive the Torah at Mount Sinai, later in the Sinai desert. So the idea is, the Jewish people, what we do in this period, there's a few things we do, but we count every single day. We have a mitzvah, we have a commandment to count every single day what day it is in those 49 days leading up to the holiday of Shavuos. Each day represents a certain refinement of our character. Chassidus explains and Kabbalah explains that we have 7 emotional traits, generalized emotional traits that we operate within. And within those 7, there are the other 7. So we have a total of 49. And we have the ability and the capacity to refine each one, just as the Jewish people. It says that the Jewish people were on the 49th level of tumah, of impurity, just before the 50th, which would have been unredeemable. We were so lowly, in such a lowly state after being enslaved for so long, that it was nearly impossible to receive the Torah, to have the ability to receive the Torah. But over those 49 days of exiting Egypt and traversing the desert, we slowly refined ourselves got to the spiritual level of receiving the Torah. So the idea is we receive the Torah, and that is what commands us to have 613 mitzvahs, which is unique to the rest of the world. Now, the rest of the world, the rest of the nations do have, as you must know from watching this channel so much, 7 noahide laws. There is a way to completely fulfill the will of Hashem and the Torah from a Jewish perspective without having to convert to Judaism. And that's the idea here. The complaint, the arguments that one might say is that the Jewish people don't even want you to be a Jew. You know, look, obviously they believe that there's a supremacy. They're reserved as the Jewish people, and they don't even encourage a conversion. So if you look at it from that perspective, with that mindset, with that little think about it, you know, look how they don't even want you involved. You may come to a certain conclusion, but if you think a little bit deeper from a healthier perspective, without any preconceived notion, the idea is that we're not going to command you to do anything. Hashem commanded you to do what you have to do, and it's not necessary. The Jewish nation simply has more commandments. You know, I was watching, I forget who it was, but he mentioned that it's just like if a father asked his oldest son to take out the trash, that's not, the younger son won't be like, oh, so I'm less worthy? You didn't command me to take out the trash? No, it's just we have more commandments upon us. By that same logic, Jewish men have even more commandments than Jewish women. So you can always keep climbing up the ladder and say there's a Jewish supremacy, then there's a male Jewish supremacy, and then there's Kohanim, there's our priests that have things that we can't do. So it's a ridiculous statement to claim that because we don't encourage and force, you know, now in today's world, you still see it a little bit, but you don't necessarily see mass forced conversion. But for most of our history, there were very, very gruesome and bloody mass conversions into Christianity, Islam, and we never engaged in that because we understand and we know that you can have a fully fulfilled, committed life to Hashem as a non-Jew within that framework. If you want to convert, as we know, there's many converts to Judaism, and we actually put them on a pedestal. They have there's specific laws against how there's specific laws against how we treat them. We have to treat them with the utmost respect, even to a higher degree in some circumstances than our fellow Jews. They're also Jews, but our fellow non-converted Jews, because we understand the greatness and the challenge of what they put on themselves. It's not necessary. They went from 7 to 613 mitzvahs willingly. And that's a great, great challenge, and it's something to be praised, admired, and we have amazing converts to Judaism throughout history that are inspiring, that are rabbis even. And so it's a ridiculous statement, you know, when we say, oh, but the Jews are the chosen people. We are chosen. It does, and that language is shown in the Torah. But the idea of choice, as explained in Chassidus, is as follows. If I put $1 million in front of you, and I put a dollar next to it, and I say, choose which one you want. No strings attached. Choose which one you want. And you choose the $1 million. That's not choice. There's a clear greater value in the million than the $1. That's almost forced within the guise of choice. But if I put a dollar in front of you and a dollar in front of you, and I say choose, then that's a complete arbitrary choice that has two equal values. You just actually, out of your own free will, chose it. And so that's the same idea with the Jewish people. The Jewish people were singled out. It says actually in the Gemara, it's explained in the Gemara and the Talmud, that there were multiple other nations of the time. All the major nations of the time were offered the Torah, and they refused. So they came before us. They had the opportunity to receive the Torah, but it was too much. It was an unbelievable burden, you could say, to take it, and they didn't take it. The Jews took it. It even says furthermore in the Gemara that there was a mountain that was raised above our head that almost forced us to do it. So even we were somewhat skeptical and unwilling, but we ultimately conceded. We understood the amazing miracles that Hashem performed for us in the desert, and so we ultimately conceded and willingly accepted the Torah. Furthermore, it says that we only truly willingly accepted the Torah at a much later period, in the times of Purim, when we really implemented it into the depths of our souls. But that's a different topic. But on a simple level, we accepted the Torah. And so this idea that the Jewish people think of themselves as greater is a little bit ironic. It's if you speak to any Orthodox Jew, any observant Jew, anyone who's really, internalized Torah as much as they could, is going to say that even in their own personal life, forget being a Jew, that's completely was given by Hashem. But even the money they made, the children they raised, the way they look, their skill set, they will acknowledge it's all from Hashem. We have to do our work. We have to put in our efforts. We have to meet Hashem halfway, or even a quarter way, or even a 10th way, but he's going to do the rest. We acknowledge as the Jewish people, it's a fundamental of our faith that everything that is in our life comes from God. So by that logic, we can't have any supremacy because we didn't earn what we have. We're grateful for it. It's a challenge. It's a burden. We have a lot more that we can do wrong, but we're grateful for it. We accept it. And we also acknowledge that that's the same case for everyone in the world and every nation in the world. Hashem made the decision, and Hashem wants what he wants from us as individuals. So we should, as a society at whole, if we can all understand that, we would 100% achieve unbelievable heights in our closeness, developing our closeness to Hashem, in developing a world peace, of course. And ultimately what we want is the coming of Mashiach, b'mhera b'yameinu, speedily in our times. We want Mashiach immediately, because that's when everything's going to become clear. It says that in the times of Mashiach, that the world is going to be filled with simply the knowledge of God. That is the main difference, is that the world is simply going to be filled with God's knowledge. That's what the Rambam Maimonides says as well, that our day job, so to speak, like what is our thing going to be in the times of Mashiach, is simply to know God. That's going to be our entire occupation. And the famous prophecies in Isaiah saying that the lamb is going to lie with the wolf, and all these prophetic images of the peaceful times of the messianic era, is simply to say that the world is going to be so filled with the understanding of God and his will and what he wants from us and what he wanted from us all along, that peace is just naturally going to have to form. It would be unbelievable to go against how well you understand Hashem, and therefore for there to be not peace in the world. So God willing, we should experience that through the learning of Torah, through the understanding of Hashem's will, what he wants from us. That in and of itself is a mitzvah. The greatest mitzvah, it says, is the learning of Torah. It's connected, not connected, but it's equal to all the other mitzvahs. Of course, on a deeper level, it's because it leads you to do all the other mitzvahs, but you have to know what to do first. So we should all have the ability and the capacity to learn a lot of Torah, to internalize it, and to grow closer to Hashem. And the closer you grow to Hashem, the more clarity we'll have on what Hashem wants from us, and that will spread throughout the world. Thank you.